What's good, sports fans? Are you ready to elevate your live entertainment experience? Well, let me introduce you to SeatGeek, an amazing platform that connects you to your favorite events while saving you money. With SeatGeek, you can easily find tickets for sports games, concerts, and so much more, all in one place. The interface is user-friendly, making it simple to browse and compare prices. And one of the best features is the interactive seating chart. You can see exactly where you'll be sitting and how much you'll be spending, ensuring you get the best value for your money. But here's the best part. Check this out. By using my promo code, ChalkItUpSports, you can enjoy a one-time $20 discount on your first SeatGeek order. That's right, $20 off your first SeatGeek order. Imagine catching that thrilling game or concert without breaking the bank. It's a win-win situation. Plus, you'll be a part of a community of fans who eat, sleep, and breathe live events just as much as you do. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description to download the SeatGeek app today. And don't forget to use my promo code ChalkItUpSports for a one-time $20 discount on your first SeatGeek order. Get excited. Now let's get back to the show. Yo, what's good? This is your boy, Tone DeShields II. You guys are locked in on another dose, another edition, another rendition of Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. Part 2, baby. We back at it again. More to talk about with you guys, more content to get to. Y'all know I'm not going to pull my punches. Y'all know I'm going to get right to it, man. We ain't going to waste no time. Y'all know what your job is. Smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. I told you guys we're gonna have a busy day today. I made it very clear, abundantly clear, that today I got some things in store for you guys, and I will never ever disappoint you. Okay, just how in earlier today's show we had a guest, and we're going to have another guest today. Our guest will be coming on in about 10-15 minutes, something like that. But before our guests come on, we're going to discuss some things as it pertains to free agency, as it pertains to the Philadelphia Eagles on defense, right? We obviously know they lost some pieces, and one piece in particular, CJGJ in the safety room, that's somebody that's going to be, I don't want to say difficult, but challenging. It's going to be challenging to replace CJ Gardner-Johnson, because not only did he give you a lot of fire, a lot of intensity, he also backed it up with his play. So it will be a challenge for the Philadelphia Eagles to replace the production that CJGJ provided. But from what I'm hearing, from what I'm seeing, from what I'm reading, the Philadelphia Eagles aren't quite done in free agency. Now, there's a chance that they could be making a move. A chance. We don't know for sure. Anything's possible. But I don't put it past Howie Roseman to always keep his ducks in a row, and he won't leave any stone unturned. And if he's very good at playing the market. He's never ever going to bet against himself. He's not going to outbid himself, right? So before we get too deep, man, make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are also subscribed to the channel. Means a lot to me, goes a long way, right? The content doesn't move, doesn't shake without the people. So make sure you guys continue to stay locked in. Make sure you guys continue to stay active in the live chat. Continue to stay active in the comment section. We're going up this offseason. Y'all know how we do it here at Chalk It Up Sports. The grind does not stop. So many people want to take their foot off the gas in the offseason. I say no. I say fuck that. We keeping our foot on the gas. We're going to keep this thing rolling. You feel me? This is where you really earn your keeps. This is where you really earn your chips in the off season. You dig me? So let's get into it, right? The two names that came up in what I was reading, what I was seeing in regards to the Philadelphia Eagles free agent targets at safety. I'm hearing rumors about Justin Blackman. Julian Blackman, excuse me. I'm hearing rumors about Julian Blackman, former safety for the Indianapolis Colts. And I've heard rumblings about Justin Simmons. Now, this situation is interesting because Justin Blackman or Julian Blackman, I'm gonna keep making this mistake all day. I can feel it. Julian Blackman and Justin Simmons, they are at two different points in their career. I think both of them are at crucial points in their career, but both nonetheless are at different points in their career. Now, let's start with the veteran, Justin Simmons. Justin Simmons, 6'2", 202 pounds, 31 years old, former third-round pick by the Denver Broncos in the 2016 NFL Draft. Went to Boston College. 9-year NFL veteran. Has had a pretty healthy career for the most part. And he pretty much spent his entire career with the Denver Broncos and really made a lot of money with the Broncos. As of late in 2024, he was a free agent and he decided to sign on with the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I believe when he signed on with the Falcons, Justin Simmons, he signed a 1-year, $7.5 million deal. $7.5 million. They guaranteed the entire contract, $7.5 million, with a $4.75 million signing bonus. So 1 year, $7.5 million with the Atlanta Falcons, right? Now, his days of being that $15 million a year, $13 to $15 million a year safety is done, right? He's on the back nine of his career. Justin Simmons is 31 years old, and he had a decent season. The Atlanta Falcons, as an organization, as a team, they didn't have their best season, but they were in the running for a playoff spot nonetheless. But he didn't have a bad season in 2024, signing on with the Atlanta Falcons. And again, he signed on with the Falcons on a 1-year, $7.5 million deal, fully guaranteed. So that gives us an idea. That gives us some semblance of the kind of money he may be worth or looking for, right? Now, of course, a player will always go to a team that's paying him way more than he's worth, right? But $7.5 million, I think that's a little less than what GJ was making per season. But 31 years old, 9-year veteran. He's looking to sign on somewhere. And like last season, he waited a long time before signing on. He waited for the best deal, the best situation he could. And I felt like that Atlanta Falcons situation was pretty good for Justin Simmons. It looked good initially, right? You're playing next to Jesse Bates. They made a lot of moves defensively. So new coaching staff. It seemed like a good situation, and I don't think their defense was their biggest problem. Their biggest problem, in my opinion, was the quarterback position, the inconsistencies of Kirk Cousins. So there you have Justin Simmons, played in 16 games in 2024 for the Falcons, recorded 2 interceptions, 7 pass deflections, 62 total tackles, 36 solo. Right? Now, I will also say this. As far as in pass coverage goes, over the course of those 16 games, he was targeted 37 times, only allowed 22 completions at a 59.5 completion percentage. He only allowed 229 receiving yards in coverage. That's a career low for him, which is really, really good. That's really good for Justin Simmons at this point in his career. He allowed the career low in passing yards, and he did really well, only allowing a 59.5% completion percentage when he was targeted, when he was the nearest defender. He also only allowed 6.2 yards per target, and he allowed 3 touchdowns on the season. Over the course of 16 games played, only allowing 3 touchdowns, not the worst. Not the worst at all. And he only allowed an 81.9 passer rating when targeted. Now, obviously, that doesn't compare to his 2021 season. It doesn't compare to his 2019 season, right? But in 2023, he was a Pro Bowler and a second-team All-Pro. He's been a second-team All-Pro 4 out of the 9 seasons he's been a starter. He's been a Pro Bowler as well 2 times out of those 9 seasons. So he's been a very productive safety throughout the course of his career. Justin Simmons. And like I said, he's not coming off of a bad season whatsoever. He only allowed 80 yards yak on the entire season. Only allowed 149 air yards on the season. So I don't think Justin Simmons is coming off of a bad season. I don't think so. Just based off of the advanced analytics. Now, let's get to Julian Blackman. And just as a reminder, you guys, I do have a special guest coming on in about 5 to 10 minutes, okay? I do have a special guest coming on, so that will be exciting to talk about. That will be exciting to see who that is. I'm really excited about this. Like I told you guys, we had a busy day. Earlier, we had my man Barrett Brooks, and today we're going to have another guest as well. So I'm looking forward to that conversation. Make sure you guys stay tuned. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Before we get to Julian Blackman, though, let me get to some of your comments here. James McFadden, he says, Tone, you can't beat Father Time. Let the young guys play. Hey, James, I'm not mad at your logic. Father Time is undefeated. Father Time is undefeated. There are some guys who've been able to play well in spite of that. Darius Slay, right, was 34 years old, 33, 34 years old, playing very well for his age. Let's call it what it is. But I understand your sentiment in letting the young guys play, right? Or at least letting them compete so we can find out who's the guy. So you look at a guy like Sidney Brown, young guy, up and coming, entering year 3 of his rookie deal. You want to find out what he is. You did sign Lewis Seen. He was a former Viking safety that they drafted, but he couldn't stay healthy. I don't think he's played 10 games in his very young NFL career. I think he's entering year 3 or year 4 of his rookie deal. Tristan McCullum, right? You got him. I think you got Andre Sam, right? Let me double check that. As far as the Eagles depth chart goes, Andre Sam, Tristan McCullum, Lewis Seen, Sidney Brown, obviously Reed Blankenship is your starter this year. So there's your competition there. It's really between Sidney Brown and Lewis Seen. I think we know what Tristan McCullum is, and we know what Andre Sam is. I know a lot of us want Sidney Brown to win that spot, but he's going to have to earn it. And I'm not fully confident in Lewis Seen's health. And I don't know what Lewis Seen is going to be able to be, or what he's going to be able to amount to, rather. I don't know. And it begs the question, are the Eagles going to be patient? I think Sidney Brown deserves a shot, but I'm just simply reporting what I'm hearing. That's all, you guys. But I do understand what you're saying, James. I do understand what you're saying. Forrest Hill says, special guest Terrell Owens. I wish. But nah, I'll let the cat out of the bag and tell you real quick, it ain't gonna be Terrell Owens. Pat Ryan says, if Justin Simmons will take less than $7.5 million, I think about it. Yeah, I would think about it. I would definitely think about it. I mean, he didn't have a bad season last year. He didn't have a bad season, and it's not like he came from a situation where they actually had an offense. You know what I mean? He played pretty well. Antonio Holmes, he says, I read that Julian Blackman had a torn laterum. I don't know what that is. Latrum, is that how you pronounce it? I read Julian Blackman had a torn latrum all season, and they put him in center field so he wouldn't have to play in the box. Dude stays injured, but he played the majority of the season with this injury. Interesting. Now, to your point about Julian Blackman, what I'm seeing is the only season he's really had that's really been injury riddled was 2021, where he only played 6 games. But in 2024, played in 16 games. 2023, played in 15 games. 2022, played in 14 games. 2021 played in 6 games, but 2020 played in 15 games. So I mean, he's averaging about, if you exclude that outlier season where he only played 6 games, he's averaging about 15 games played. He's averaging about 15 games played. If we're being honest about that, let's just call it what it is. You know? And out of, let me see, 17 is 34, 68, 68 plus 16, 68 plus 16, 78, that's 84. Out of 84 possible games, he's played in 66 games. Out of 84, he's played 66 games. So for his career, he's missed 18 games total. That's about a season. That amounts to about a season. But over the past 3 years, it's been 14 games played, 15 games played, and 16 games played. So, but I'm not gonna crucify Julian Blackman for his health just yet. But I understand what you're saying, Antonio Holmes. If he played with a torn ligament at any point last year, that's something to think about. Kenneth Johnson with the super chat. Thank you, Ken. I appreciate you, man. He says, yo, Malachi Moore is the man. He got to be an Eagle. Malachi Moore. It's like the second or third time I heard that name, Malachi Moore. I've heard of Malachi Starks, but Malachi Moore. Oh, the Alabama safety. 6 feet, 201. Ran a 4.5. Okay. I'll look into him more. But I've been keeping my eye on Malachi Starks. Thank you for the super chat, Kenneth. I appreciate you, bro. Sweet Chitty Music, he responded saying, I've been making the Justin Blackman mistake for weeks. Yo, yeah, man. Like, I'm surprised I'm not still making it, but I think that's why I'm taking my time when I speak about it. I'm trying not to speak too fast, where I end up saying Justin Blackman, Julian Blackman, Justin Simmons. I want to take my time with that. King Tone says Von Miller can replace BG and sign Simmons. I don't know how I feel about that. Your defense instantly gets significantly older. I'm not as gung ho on Von Miller as everybody else is. I'm just not. Let me see what he did last year before I jump out the window. But I'm just not as I'm not that bullish on Von Miller right now. I'm really not. I'm not that bullish on him. So Von Miller, I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. We know that for a fact. But Von Miller, spent 3 years in Buffalo, 13 games played, 12 games played, 11 games played. Hasn't really been able to stay on the football field much. Missed 4 games in 2024, missed 5 games in 2023, missed 6 games in 2022. Let me see here. Coming off of a 6-sack season. Yeah, I mean, his career is undeniable, right? His career is undeniable, but you know, hasn't really been that. He's been effective. Let me not do that. You know, he had 8 sacks in 2022 and 11 games played. No sacks in 2023, and he played 12 games. 2024, 13 games played, 6 sacks. So I don't know, man. Now, obviously, he's been a rotational edge rusher for the past 2 seasons. He hasn't started a game since 2022. He's been rotational. 6 sacks in 13 games isn't bad. It's not. That's essentially a sack every other game. But I don't know if I'm ready to. I don't know if I want to pull the trigger on. How old is he? What, 35? Nah. I'm not pulling the trigger on a 35-year-old edge rusher. I'm not. I'm personally not. Let's see. But yes, let me double check this here. Yeah, I just can't. I can't see myself taking the shot on Von Miller at this point in his career. I just can't. Let me get to Julian Blackman's numbers though. Julian Blackman has been a pretty productive safety in his own right. Julian Blackman coming off of a season where he played decent. He played okay. Wasn't his best season in coverage. Wasn't his best season. Wasn't his best season in coverage at all. He did force a few turnovers, but wasn't his best season. Julian Blackman, 6 feet, 202 pounds, 26 years old. He's younger. He's 5 years younger. He's 5 years younger than Justin Simmons. Julian Blackman with the Utah third round pick, just like Justin Simmons. Julian Blackman was a third round pick, 2020 NFL draft. In 2024, played in 16 games, 3 interceptions, 4 pass deflections, 1 fumble recovery, a half a sack, 86 total tackles, 62 solo. Now, when we get to the advanced numbers, Julian Blackman isn't coming off of one of his best seasons. He isn't. 2023 was his best season by far. But 2024, major step back, right? 2024, he played 16 games, 3 interceptions. He was targeted 36 times, allowed 25 completions, allowing 69.4 completion percentage. He gave up 434 yards receiving. He was giving up an average of 12.1 yards per target and 17.4 yards per completion. That's not good. It's not good. And he also gave up a 103.2 passer rating when targeted as the closest DB. It's not good at all. That's not good at all, man. That's not good. And also, man, not a good tackler. Not a good tackler, man. He had 86 total tackles, but he had 14 missed tackles on the season. Not good. He's coming off his career worst, a career high in missed tackles. That's not a good look, man. Like I said, his best season was 2023. Only missed 4 tackles. But he missed 14 tackles. That's alarming. That's alarming to me. Now, again, Justin Simmons clearly had a better season than Julian Blackman. Now, this may go back to what my man Antonio Holmes said. Remember, Antonio, where is he? Let me go back to the original comment he had. Antonio mentioned that he read that Julian Blackman had a torn lateral or latrum all season, and they put him in center field so he wouldn't have to play in the box. Dude stays injured, but he played majority of the season with this injury. Now, that begs the question, was he making business decisions? That's what that sounds like to me. Sounds like a guy who's making business decisions, probably for good reason, with that bad shoulder. I mean, to play 16 games with a bad shoulder, man, it's tough. That's tough. And the thing is, you can't be on this defense if you're not willing to tackle. You can't be skittish because you were dealing with a shoulder injury the year before. You can't be skittish. So that may be something that deters Howie Roseman and Vic Fangio from taking a shot on Julian Blackman. He's a young player, though, 26 years old. And his age would fall into the category of what the Philadelphia Eagles have been doing. He would fall into that category. A 26-year-old guy entering year 6 of his career, coming off of a rookie deal or a 1-year contract with his previous team. Let me get a feel for what they was paying him too, because since he was drafted in the 3rd round and he's been with the Colts for 5 seasons, that would mean that they gave him a 1-year extension on top of the rookie deal. Let's see what we're dealing with here. Julian Blackman. All right. So after his rookie deal, they gave him a 1-year extension. He signed a 1-year, $3.7 million contract with the Colts in 2024. They guaranteed him $3.1 million. $3.19 million to be exact. So, Justin Simmons, $7.5 million. Julian Blackman coming off of a contract worth $3.7 million. So, both of these guys are relatively cheap for the position. Julian Blackman is cheap because of his production or lack thereof. Justin Simmons is cheap because of his age, because he didn't have a bad season. And the risk you take with a guy like Justin Simmons is, when we sign him, will we be the team that he falls off the cliff on? Will we be the team when he falls off the cliff? And then with Julian Blackman, is he going to be a liability in coverage? Is he going to be a liability in tackling and run defense? Will he be somebody that's making business decisions when he's on the island having to tackle defender? That is interesting. That makes it very, very interesting. But nonetheless, the Philadelphia Eagles will have to figure out their long-term answer at safety. And this goes to y'all point about looking for a guy in the draft, right? Because the Eagles, they let CJ walk. CJ had 2 years left on the deal. And it wasn't like CJ was the most expensive, but I think CJ wanted more money. So they wanted to move on from that. Justin Simmons made $7.5 million last year. He may be able to make the same amount of money coming off of the year he had, plus the age. Julian Blackman, on the other hand, I find it hard to believe he'll be able to get but you guys are bringing up some good points with these safeties in the draft, right? I know a lot of you guys brought up Nick Manwari, Malachi Starks, Xavier Watts, Malachi Moore, right? Let me ask you guys a question. Because I want to check the temperature real quick. Who, if the Eagles were to draft a safety, who would that safety be for you guys? If the Eagles were to draft a safety, who would you want that safety to be? I saw a lot of you guys say Starks. I saw Moore. Who would KGK says Nick Emanwari. Now, I don't think he may not make it. He may not make it to the 32nd overall pick. So I'm saying Nick Emanwari. I'm saying Malachi Moore, hands down. Malachi Starks. Oh, we got a curveball. Kevin Winston Jr. out of Penn State. I don't know too much about Kevin Winston. I got to do some more research on him. Malachi Moore. AJ Jones says best available. Not mad at that. Sweet Chin Music says Emanwari is a box safety. Yeah, you bring up a good point. The Eagles don't need a box safety right now. Reed Blankenship is the closest they have to a box safety. They don't need another box. They don't need that. They need a free safety. They need a free safety. That's what they need. Okay. Malachi Moore is a second-day pick. Starks. Xavier Watts. Is he the guy out of Notre Dame? Okay, so the Kyle Hamilton relation. Now we know Kyle Hamilton came out of Notre Dame, right? We know that. We know Kyle Hamilton came out of Notre Dame. Would you guys say Xavier Watts was better than him? Would you guys say would you guys say Hamilton was better in college? Not today, but who was better in college? Xavier Watts or Kyle Hamilton? No Cut says Watts is nice. Sweet Chin Music says Watts should be a nice option. Antonio Holmes says Hamilton was better. Sweet Chin Music, Hamilton was better. Okay. T. Will says Malachi Moore has higher IQ. He's a ball hawk, good tackler, aggressive attitude. He's fast. Swift says Hamilton was better, but I still would like Watts. Hey, Linda Washington, how you doing? Fanny says Moore is versatile. He's just good in coverage. That's what I like. Fair enough. Ray Bailey says we need a free safety who's not afraid to put a hat on somebody like CJ. That part. Kaka Corsi says Andrew Makuba is another option. Andrew Makuba. Out of Texas. Okay. Andrew Makuba. I see. Andrew Makuba out of Texas. Exo Key says, man, give me Starks. Okay. Is it fair to say that most of you guys are looking towards Malachi Starks and Malachi Moore? Those are like your top two guys. Like, is that reasonable to say that you guys' top two guys are Moore and Starks? I'm seeing a lot of you guys either say Starks or Moore. Now, who's better? Because I didn't watch too much college football, and I know a lot of you guys did. So, who's better? Matter of fact, let me ask you a better question. Who do you think would fit the Eagles' defense better? Who would fit the Eagles' defense better? Who fits the Eagles' defense better? Rashid Brown says Starks plays the run as well as he covers. Yo, primetime Stephen Joyce says, why does everybody like CJ? He was not that good. That's funny, man. Shane O'Mac says more. Antonio Holmes says both will fit. Pause. I'm just fucking with you, Antonio. Fanny says more. Bam says Reed has enough to do at this point that I think. He says Reed has enough at this point that I think we don't really need another vet safety, but it depends on whether Howie wants to draft the safety. Simmons seems like the best vet available for cheap. Yeah, he does. Starks. More Malachi Moore, hands down. More. Somebody saying Starks for sure. See, y'all split. Shannon Mack says, I like Starks, but Moore as another Cooper. I'm talking about Cooper DeJean. Moore. Okay. Okay. Here's the thing. I don't put it past Howie Roseman to wait until maybe the second round to get a safety. That's the thing, right? This Eagles team is so talented still. I don't really know which direction they're going to go in the draft. Will they go trenches, O lineman or D lineman in that first round if they decide to stay in the 32nd overall pick? I keep saying it, and I know I'm repeating myself, but I really don't see a situation where Howie stays at 32. I would bet against Howie staying at 32. I think Howie is either going to trade up or trade back. He's not going to sit still. He's not going to sit still. And if he has an opportunity to get, see, my thing is, if you're drafting somebody in the first round, they're playing right away. You feel what I'm saying? You're not drafting a project or anybody that's going to be rotational in the first round, unless it's maybe the D line or something. But if they stay in that first round, they're drafting somebody that's going to play right away. And that begs the question: if they do draft a safety in the first round, who's ready to play now? Who's ready to play now? I'm not talking about, growing pains. And look, he's a rookie. Every rookie has their growing pains. But I'm talking about who's ready to play now. Kenneth Johnson says, question to ask: what is Fangio looking for in a safety? That's the $1 million question, Kenneth. That's the $1 million question. What is Vic Fangio looking into for a safety? Because you trade CJ. He's probably your best playmaker as a safety that you've had over the past few years, but you move on from him for obvious reasons. Well, the reasons are debatable. But you have Reed Blankenship back there. Will Sidney Brown step up? It all remains to be seen. But, man, oh, man. I've been looking forward to talking to this brother, this good brother, this gentleman, this scholar. I've been looking forward to talking to this man for quite some time. We haven't spoken on the platform, of course, on Chalk Up Sports. He hasn't been on since last offseason. The regular season was busy for a lot of us, and for good reason. For good reason, because we had a lot of good things to talk about, and he's been doing amazing work with his most recent project, working with Seth Joyner and Mark Forzetta with their Eagles pre- and post-game show. They do a phenomenal job covering your Philadelphia Eagles. I consider this guy a friend, a mentor, someone who's always kept me in their prayers, someone who's always given me great advice, someone who's always steered me in the right direction. Let's not waste any time. The good brother, Eagles insider, NFL insider, the veteran in this game, Mr. Derek Gunn. How are you feeling, big dog?
Tone, how you been, man?
I'm good. I'm blessed by the best. I can't complain, man. How are you? How's the family? How's everything? I know the past 365 days have been, a challenge for everybody, especially you and yours. But just walk me through how's everything? How's the wife? How's the family? How's the grandkids?
Doing as well as could be expected, man. Grandkids are getting bigger and bossier, especially that 3-year-old granddaughter of mine. She's the only girl. The other 3 are boys. Wife's doing as well could be expected. Like I said, God is good, man. It's taking care of us in a lot of areas, and that's all you can ask for.
Absolutely.
I was telling my wife a little while ago, when you think you have it bad, there's always somebody out there that has it worse than you do. So who am I to complain? And so you just keep moving forward, man. Keep doing what you do.
Absolutely. And my man, you guys had a phenomenal season. You guys shoot the show at Bet Parks, correct?
Yeah, Bet Parks Casino in Bensalem. Seth Joyner, Mark Farzetta, and I. Rob Parker's production company was outstanding. We had an incredible group of people in front of the cameras, behind the cameras. Man, Tone, everything was just, simpatico, as they say. Just everything. No glitches, no problems, nothing the whole season. We had some great guests on all season. I got Brian Westbrook to come on. We had Ray Dittinger in the studio with us for a couple of shows this season. And for a while, I had Brandon Graham coming on post-game after games and stuff. So, yeah, we had a phenomenal first year. And the metrics of the views of our shows, we were averaging 40 to 50,000 views. We'd have anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 live on our post-game show. And within the next 48 hours or less, we'd have anywhere from 40 to 50,000 views. So, and the views overall across Seth's platform were insane. So looking forward to year 2 working with all those guys.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. I will watch you guys regularly. I will always do my pre and post game, so I will have to watch you guys after the fact.
Yeah.
But man, again, congratulations on a phenomenal season. Congratulations to you, Mark, Seth, just an overall phenomenal team over there. And I'm grateful to be able to call you guys colleagues in this thing. So let's get right to it, man.
Congrats to you, man. You look at you doing your thing down in Texas.
I'm doing
all
all right.
Star state of Texas, man. Congrats to you, man.
I'm doing all right. I'm building this thing here. It's growing. And I'm grateful for the support that people like you have given me. I'm grateful for you making yourself available to me today. A lot of people have really been locking in on the show, and it's growing. And all I can do is better myself, man. And I'm so grateful that I've been able to learn what I've been able to learn throughout my time the past few years. I've been able to build the network and still and be able to cultivate and nurture those relationships. So I can't ask for anything more. And my wife has been super supportive. So. Good. I can't ask for anything more, man. Like you said, we can complain all we want, but for one, who's listening? And for two, somebody always got it worse. So
that's right.
You're right. I appreciate that. So, this season has been this past season, rather, the 2024-2025 season has been storybook for so many reasons. The obvious reason, the Philadelphia Eagles were able to secure their second Lombardi trophy. And I think when we all started the season, right, chronicling every game and talking about who's going to do what, projections, predictions, also all those kind of things. I think we all said to ourselves, okay, we know this offense is going to be talented. They're going to put up points. We know that. I think that goes without saying. But this defense coming off of the year they had in 2023, if they can just be average, if Vic Fangio can bring them to an average level, they can make some noise in the playoffs. These guys went from being one of the worst defenses in football to the best defense in football. It goes without saying, and they maintain that notoriety from, let's just say, the bye week up until the final game. Walk me through your perspective, watching his team throughout the season, how they developed, how the rookies developed, how they played, how Vic Fangio was really able to have these guys gelling and all pulling in the same direction.
Well, if you remember the first 4 games, they were 2-2, and a lot of people wanted Nick Sirianni fired. A lot of people questioned this team in terms of what exactly they were going to be. And we also have to keep in mind this young man named Cooper DeJean wasn't even playing yet. He was still out injured. And Fangio had to rely on a lot of kids. And it took up until the bye week, from what we saw, and as we look back now, for Fangio to really sit back and realize what he had, who he could use in certain situations, and how he was going to implement his chess pieces from the bye week on. And man, you talk about night and day difference once they came out of that bye week in terms of what they became. You know, they had the youngest starting 11 in the National Football League this past season. You look at the veteran presence they had, sprinkled in with the young kids, and I'm including the Jalen Carters and the Jordan Davises because they were only second and third year players, you know. And then you look at Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean comes along, you know, and then CJ turns out to be one of the best safeties in the game. And then the other young kids that didn't get to play a whole lot, but when they did play, stepped up. Isaiah Rodgers, you know, Keely Ringo, Sidney Brown couldn't even get on the field. I can't wait to see. And Sidney Brown, I think, is the best hitter on that defense. He couldn't even get on the field other than special teams, you know. So they had depth, they had youth, they had versatility. They had Brandon Graham before he got injured coming off the edge. Josh Sweat was playing well, and then of course Zack Baun comes from out of nowhere, from a special teams forgotten player down in New Orleans. All of a sudden is all pro player in Philadelphia. You know, they always talk about how one man's trash is another man's treasure. Boy, did he turn out to be the treasure for Howie Roseman and then linebacking court. Nakobe Dean was playing lights out until he got hurt. So everything, it was a perfect storm. And as Howie told us, you know, during this offseason, he said they put everything, all their eggs into the basket for this moment to compete for this Super Bowl. You know, and, you know, we've watched him go out in free agency and gobble up big names, and it worked well to a point, but it didn't culminate into a Super Bowl. You know, you go back to 2017, it did. That was a different scenario. You look at how many key players they lost, you know, along the way. You know, starting quarterback Carson Wentz, All-Pro future Hall of Famer Jason Peters, Darren Sproles, so on and so forth. And somehow they still rallied behind backup players and fill-ins and beat the evil empire of the New England Patriots to win that Super Bowl. This team comes out of a bye week, and all of a sudden, all the lights go on, everything clicks. And they have the number one defense, and they play like it every week. And every time you thought they were going to lose to a certain opponent, whether it was Baltimore, Pittsburgh, they showed you, no, we're not. You know, the only stumbling block they had was against Washington. If Jalen Hurts had played in that game, there's no question they'd have beat Washington in that game. And they still put up 33 points in that Washington defense and lost that game. Washington basically caught lightning in a bottle in that fourth quarter and scored 22 unanswered points and won that game. But they could have gone undefeated from the bye week on had they not had that one blip. Jalen gets the concussion and goes down. But you look at how this thing came together, and the key components stayed healthy for most of the season. They lost Brandon Graham, yes, but then all of a sudden Nolan Smith steps up, you know, and we thought he was going to be a bust. He steps up and played phenomenal as well. So kudos to Howie Roseman for strategically getting the right pieces to plug in from free agency, for drafting the way he did, getting those two DBs in the first and second round, and everything else. The offense, self-contained. That offense was loaded. Pro bowlers across the board. One of the best, if not the best, 1-2 combination receiving-wise in the game. A quarterback who was just steady Eddie. You know, it's amazing to this point, people are still indifferent towards Jalen Hurts. He wins the Super Bowl. Still, people question his ability to be an upper echelon quarterback in the National Football League. All he does is win. What more do you want? I don't care if he puts up 40 touchdown passes and only 5 interceptions. I don't care if he throws for 500 yards. The latter half of the season, he averaged 22 passes a game. All he does is win and doesn't turn the football over. What more do you want from a starting quarterback in the National Football League?
Well, that's the thing, D-Gun. They want him to be able to make these off-platform throws, and they want him to make to throw the prettiest spiral. They want him to throw the ball 50, 60, 70 yards down the field every single time. They have their prototypical way of how quarterbacks are supposed to look and how they're supposed to operate the position. But you know, Tom Brady said it best. We get so wrapped up in all the theatrics and the circus things of the quarterback position when the reality is, can you execute? Can you operate pre-snap? Can you win? And Jalen Hurts has done that. And can you not turn the ball over? And Jalen Hurts has done that at the highest level. He's executed at a high level. His pre-snap has taken a massive jump this season. I think you can make an argument for a guy who threw the least he's thrown in his career. I feel like he's taken the largest step from a pre-snap perspective. He's had to do a lot of maneuvering behind that line of scrimmage, you know, doing a lot of we've seen it. He's checked into a lot of those Saquon Barkley runs, right? So Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, it gets to a point where you got to say to yourself, there's nothing really more this guy can really do. The people have made their minds up about this brother. And that's the part that kind of blows my mind the most. And I think that's why a lot of people jumped out the window on Darius Slay, because they felt like, hey, you had the opportunity to put your guy in that category. And the reality is Jalen Hurts takes so many pot shots from so many different directions. When guys have an opportunity to give him the flowers, just give him the flowers, right? Now, Devontae Smith, on the other hand, when he was asked recently about those elite guys, he said, listen, my guy's in that category. You got to put him in that category. How can you not? They say it's the big four. I say it's the big five. And I feel like that's how you're supposed to approach that. Again, Hurts, he has nothing to prove. The only thing he has to prove is to himself and to his teammates. But other than that, he's proven it at the highest level. He's won the most prestigious award in football, not just the Lombardi Trophy, but the Super Bowl MVP. I mean, walk me through your perspective on how he performed in those final two games, the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl, because once again, he's shown that he is always saving his best for the biggest moments.
The best word I could use to describe his play is meticulous in both of those games. He was efficient. I think he throws one of the prettiest deep balls in a game. You know, he doesn't get enough credit for being able to throw the deep ball, but when you look at some of his deep balls, I mean, they're right on the money, you know, whether it's over the shoulder, whether it's down the seam, whatever the case may be. He doesn't make mistakes with the ball. He'll step up and run when he has to. He's that dual threat quarterback. He's respected by his teammates. They will follow his lead. What more do you want to ask from a field general? Protect the football, make the necessary calls, make the necessary throws, make the necessary adjustments to give your team a chance to win. And then, of course, let's face it. I mean, and I hate to say this because a lot of people have used this in terms of saying, well, Jalen Hurts is a product of his surroundings. The best offensive line in the game, two of the best receivers in the game, and then, of course, a 2,000-yard rusher. You know, not many quarterbacks have that luxury at their disposal during a season. But he did what he had to do when he had to do it as well. You know, find the open receiver, live to play another day, throw the ball out of bounds. You know, don't take an unnecessary sack if you don't have to. Get rid of the football, live to play another day. He did everything he was asked to do in this particular offense. Now, let's face it. Saquon Barkley being able to run the way he did behind that offensive line takes a huge volume of pressure off of quarterback, any quarterback. When you got a guy that can run the football like that behind the offensive line like they had, takes a huge amount of pressure off of a quarterback. But when his number is called to perform and to get the ball and distribute the ball where it needs to go, he did it as well as anybody in the National Football League. Don't judge him by the numbers, the number of passes he throws, the number of attempts he throws. Look at his completion percentage and look at how efficient he was in terms of getting the ball down the field and keeping the chains moving. Don't judge him by the yards he puts up in a game, the volume of touchdowns he'll throw for in a game, because let's face it, he accounted for 3-4 touchdowns a game, a couple of which were with his legs as well. You have to take all of that into consideration in terms of how he performed those last two games and throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Let's tap into that Saquon angle a little more, because we witnessed history when it comes to Saquon Barkley's performance, not just in the playoffs, but throughout the regular season. I mean, let's just call it what it is. I think we knew he would be productive in this offense with this offensive line. I don't think any of us foresaw the numbers he put up. I mean, he arguably put up the most perfect season we've seen by a running back, like Offensive Player of the Year, the rushing title, Super Bowl trophy. I mean, outside of Terrell Davis, we haven't seen a running back have a season like this. I mean, in the passing era. You get what I'm saying? So this is, you know, did Saquon exceed your expectations? Did you expect this level of production? I mean, just walk me through your perspective on Saquon's season and his overall impact on his team. I mean, you've touched on it already a little bit.
Yeah. When you take into consideration his injury history when he was with the Giants, obviously he was playing behind a very porous line with the Giants. When he got here, I expected him to have a good season. I was thinking 1,400 yards would be a phenomenal season for him.
Same here.
You know, nobody ever thought he could have got to 2,000, and he could have broken, the all-time record. but the team decided not to push it. And I understand why. And then you take into consideration he is a selfless player. You go back to the one game where he could have broken his own personal best, and he said, "No, let the young dogs eat." He was done. A lot of players will say, "Yeah, let me get that record." No, he said, "You know what? Let the young dogs eat. Let them get some touches as well." Very selfless player, and everybody on the team just gravitated towards him from day one. But what a phenomenal specimen. I remember Malcolm Jenkins saying years ago when Malcolm was still playing with the Eagles, I remember Saquon running down the sideline and Malcolm hitting him along the sideline, and he just bounced off Malcolm. Malcolm said, "This man had some of the biggest thighs I've ever seen." You're trying to wrap your arms around his thighs. Some of the biggest, strongest thighs he's ever seen. And, man, once he got behind his Eagles' dominant offensive line, it was like turning a colt loose out of a corral. I thought the Eagles would get to a point where they might overuse him when he had 300-something plus touches. I thought there was a possibility that, you might overuse him. But obviously that was not the case because you looked at the way he ran the football in the playoffs. It was like he was fresh every week. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. That's all he wanted to do, man. And basically he is the cog in that offense. We can talk about Jalen. We can talk about A.J. Brown. We can talk about Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. Saquon Barkley was the cog that made that offense work. Obviously no one man does anything by himself on an offense, but his ability to hit a hole, cut back, break tackles, and who will ever forget this dude jumping over somebody backwards? That was one of the best. And I've watched running backs, Tone, for decades. I've never seen a running back spin to get out of trouble and turn around and jump backwards over somebody and keep going. That was one of the most phenomenal plays I've ever seen. For a guy that big to have that kind of agility was simply incredible.
That's the thing. He provided along with the stats, he provided so many iconic moments throughout that season. Moments that we're going to talk about these 10, 15, 20 years from now. Like that season, the backwards hurdle. We may not see a move like that in football ever again because that's a dangerous move. That's dangerous. Yes. And when he broke that down, he was just speaking on how he just reacted. His body just took over at that point. Speaking of iconic moments in Saquon, have you ever seen, and you've been covering this game for a long time, have you ever seen a playoff performance the way Saquon delivered in that divisional round against the Rams? I mean, and before you answer, factor in all the variables, the elements with the weather, how close of a game it was. Hurts goes down with the injury, comes back in the game. The gravity of the situation, the moment, right? I mean, it was the type of scores, the type of touchdowns, the moments it created. Have you ever seen anything more iconic than that performance?
Yeah, I can say I've seen some, but that would be up there as well. Okay. Considering what he did in that game, what he was called upon to do, and everybody knew he was going to get the football. The Rams knew it also, and they still couldn't stop him, And that's what makes it even more special when everybody's gearing up to stop you and they still can't stop you. That makes it even, that puts it on that iconic pedestal. He's a straight money player, The thing is, he doesn't fumble. His acceleration is incredible. His power, his agility, what he's able to do in open space. And you're not going to tackle him. You're not going to arm tackle this man. I tell you what, his season is a season most running backs could only dream of. And in a close game like that, what do you want to do? You want to keep the clock running. You want to keep the ball out of the opponent's hands because let's face it, the Rams were moving the ball pretty good on that Eagles defense, something they were. Not many offenses had done all season long against this Eagles defense. And they were running the ball. And obviously with Saquon's ability to do what he did, he had the clock in their favor because the more the Eagles held the ball, the less the Rams offense could get on that field. And I think that was one of the deciding factors in that game as well.
Yeah, that moment where he took off running, the snow's coming down.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And then he's smacking his helmet. Like it was just like it was I think about it and it gives me chills to this day. And I bring all this up to get to the point where we talk about Howie Roseman's decision to give him another contract, only a year into the 3-year deal he signed. I
Mhm.
mean, Howie Roseman has kind of been going against the grain. He's been going against what we believe to be his conventional wisdom, right? Paying a linebacker in Zack Baun
Mhm.
3 years, $54 million, 51 million, 34 million guaranteed. Saquon making him the highest paid running back, giving him 20 plus million a season. When you think about that move to extend Saquon again, paying Zack Baun, the linebacker, again, he's taking risk on guys that he decided to bet on.
Mhm.
And like, how was it for you as somebody who's covered Howie Roseman and his team for well over a decade? How was it for you to just see the evolution of Howie Roseman as a GM and how he's been allocating the resources and kind of just been going against what we believe again to be his conventional wisdom?
Well, I love that Howie admitted a couple of years ago he had to realize that he wasn't always the smartest guy in the room.
Mm.
And if you go back a couple of seasons, when I had him on a show that you were producing at the time with me and Rob Ellis, when we had Howie on, and Howie talked about how his owner, Jeffrey Lurie, said, why aren't you drafting more guys from that SEC conference? And then he said even his grandfather asked him, why aren't you drafting more guys from that SEC conference? Because if you look at their draft history, they never drafted from the SEC. And then all of a sudden, Howie said he woke up. He started listening to his scouting department more. He started listening to outside comments more. And he had to realize that he needed more input in terms of making this team one of the elite teams in the National Football League. And, you know, as a person, I don't care what you do in life, Tone. Once you stop growing, you become stagnant. I don't care how young you are, how old you are. You can always learn something from somebody. Always have an open mind to learn something. And that's what Howie had to learn the hard way. And if you look at his drafts the last 3 years, it's the epitome of why this team has emerged as good as it is. Look at the players that are contributing to this team or have contributed to this team in 2024-25. It's because Howie had to change his mindset, open his mindset up, and start looking at different types of players that he wasn't looking at before. I think if you go back even farther, the fact that Howie was given a second chance when a lot of people would have been jettisoned out of there, and I'm talking about going back to the Chip Kelly era, when Chip Kelly basically got Jeffrey Lurie to cast Howie aside, put him in a closet, and let Chip run the whole show. 9 times out of 10, a GM in that situation would have been fired. But Jeffrey kept him on a back burner, and once they fired Chip Kelly, brought him back to the forefront, even gave him another title as well. And that's when Howie basically said he was humbled and had to start reevaluating himself. And then, of course, over the last 3 years, as he continuously kept getting asked questions from outside people looking in, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? That's when Howie had to take a really good look at himself in the mirror and say, I've got to change the way I go about doing things. And lo and behold, he did. And what do we see now? Defending Super Bowl champions in 2024.
And to your point, I think for myself, I kind of get alarmed when I see Eagles fans, some, not all, because they get offended when you say most, but some of the Eagles fans have kind of been critical of Howie Roseman's decisions this offseason, right? Letting Josh Sweat walk, letting Milton Williams walk, letting Darius Slay, Isaiah Rodgers walk, Oren Burks, who people felt like that was a pretty easy deal to make. Trading CJ, I think that was the one move that really alarmed people and set people off. For me, I'm looking at this guy who's been able to draft extremely well over the past handful of seasons. I mean, he's really learned since that Jalen Reagor draft. And he doesn't get enough credit for his 2018 draft. You know, finding Dallas Goedert, finding Jordan Mailata, Avonte Maddox in that same draft, Josh Sweat in that same draft. Those guys were very productive for you. You know what I mean? Doesn't get enough credit for that draft class, but primarily since the Jalen Reagor draft class, and Hurts was a part of that draft class, believe it or not. So that's the gem from the Jalen Reagor draft, Jalen Hurts. But it always blows my mind when people begin to waver or lose faith in Howie Roseman when he's a two-time Super Bowl champion general manager, has won 2 Super Bowls with 2 different head coaches, 2 different starting quarterbacks, completely 2 different rosters. Let's be honest about that. Why do you think there's this hesitancy or this nervousness over the course of this offseason with the Eagles fan base? Why do you think that is?
Human nature. It's human nature. I don't care what you do, how well you do it. You never please everybody. There's cynics out there all the time, and you can't just please everybody. It's a what have you done for me lately? And even though they've won the Super Bowl, people are panicking now. What's happening to our defense? And here's another part of Howie's growth process. He told us early in this offseason, he said, look, when it comes to free agency, don't expect me to do things I've done in the past. They've put so much money into their offense. And then, of course, they give Saquon Barkley that extension. Look at the money they've given to 2 wide receivers, gave them both extensions. They just reworked Lane Johnson's money. Lane Johnson is going to get something like $38 million guaranteed over the next 3 seasons. Jordan Mailata got a contract as well. You look at the Jalen Hurts, $250 million contract. So you look at the money they've invested into this offense, and something had to suffer. And so, sure enough, it's the defense. And of course, when you win the Super Bowl, everybody wants a piece of you. Look at the volume of coaches they've won. Kellen Moore, who helped Jalen Hurts put together one of his best season as a pro, is now gone. He's down in New Orleans. Look at the coaches he took with him down there as well. So now, when you're the king of the hill, everybody wants a piece of you. And so Howie basically told us, hey, look, we're not going to be what we were on defense. Not saying we can't be a good defense, because when you look at the pieces that are still there, they should be a pretty good defense. It may not be a number 1 defense, but it should be at least a top 10 defense with the pieces they have. They have a lot of draft capital coming up this year. And knowing Howie, he's still going to sit back and wait. Probably could be tomorrow, but it could be April or May. He's going to pluck off some veteran who's sitting out there. And the more they sit out there, the more their numbers decrease. And Howie will pick them off, at a much decreased number. So, Howie has been honest with us. And, those guys, their contracts came up at the right time. Milton Williams gets a $100 million contract with the Patriots.
Howie wasn't paying that. He wasn't paying that.
He's not going to pay that. Look at the money that Josh Sweat got to go back to go to Arizona with, the defensive coach there, who's the head coach down there. It wasn't going to pay. He wasn't going to pay that. So they had to, he made the trade for CJ. And CJ, who is as outspoken as they come, said basically, hey, look, man, those young guys got to play. Those young guys need to get paid as well. I get it. So he wasn't bitter about leaving. He knew there was a possibility. Darius Slay making big money. He knew that he was going to be gone. He said he would like to finish his career in Philadelphia, but he knew the prospects of that happening was slimming up. Lo and behold, he signs with Pittsburgh. So they basically knew what the deal was. And so now we're going to be in another youth movement. How is he going to add? Hopefully he has another great draft like he did the last 2-3 drafts. But he's going to have to rely on a lot of kids again who have grown up. The luxury is having a young defense that is a Super Bowl winning defense, because they know what it takes to get the job done. They're going to be able to pass along valuable information for a whole new crop of rookie players who are coming in. Hey, this is the way we do things here. This is what we need to do if you want to be better than the rest. This is how we need to work. This is how we need to film study. This is how we need to approach practice each and every day. So it's going to be a young team again. The offense is set. This offense is set to score 25, 28, 30 points a game. If the defense can just make enough significant stops, they're going to be one of the elite teams again in the National Football League.
Yeah, for sure. D Gunn, man, you've been giving me so much time. I just got a couple more for you. I know you got to get back to the family, so I appreciate you for making the time that you made already, man. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. We're joined by our guy D Gunner. Now, to your point about not paying those guys and really leaning on your young guys, I think Howie is also thinking about it from this perspective, right? Yeah, I lost Milton Williams. Yeah, I lost Josh Sweat and all those other guys. But here's the reality. Here's the cool reality. He deems those guys as replaceable. And he's made it very clear that I'm investing heavily on offense. And if I feel like you're transcendent or you're a playmaker or you're a difference maker, somebody I can't replace on defense, I will pay you. That's the thing Howie Roseman has always shown so far over the past several years. He will pay you if you produce. Right. And if you produce at an extremely high level that can't be replicated. Right. And I think he's looking at it from the perspective of, let's be honest about this. I got to make way for the Jalen Carter contract. He's going to make north of $30, $33, $34 million a year. I'm going to have to make way for a Quinyon Mitchell contract at some point. If he keeps playing the way he's playing, he's going to get paid top tier money. We just saw what Derek Stanley got paid. We saw what J.C. Horn got paid recently, right? And J.C. Horn can't stay healthy, and they still paid him all that money. So he's looking at these positions that it just so happens that these high value positions are where his best players are. Jalen Carter at DT, these guys are getting wide receiver money now.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he can't play the game and put himself in a Dallas Cowboys situation or a Cincinnati Bengals situation and pay guys super late. And next thing you know, you're paying them at the exact market rate instead of paying them just below the market rate because you got in early. That's what makes Howie Roseman special. That's why he's one of the best GMs, if not the best GM in football, because he knows how to get in early.
Knows how to move money around too to make cap space and get what he wants as well. And you're right. He knows they're going to have to pay some defensive players in a couple of years. And when he has to pay those defensive players, some of the offensive players are going to fall by the wayside. When you think about it, AJ and Devontae got their money now. In a couple of years, who knows if they're going to be with the team or not? Lane Johnson, 2-3 years from now, he's going to be gone. Jordan Mailata got his money. So Howard knows he's got another whole crop of players on the other side who are going to have to get paid as well. But you're right, especially Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter could, if he continues to play the way he has, he's going to reset the bank for defensive linemen getting paid in the National Football League. I mean, the young man's already being compared to Aaron Donald, who's one of the best that ever do it at his position. So the accolades are well-deserved when it comes to a Jalen Carter. And then, think about it. You mentioned, Quinyon Mitchell. What about Nolan Smith? If you decide you need to keep him, Cooper DeJean, Keely Ringo, those type of guys, they're going to be up in a couple of years, or in the final year of a rookie contract. And as we know, Howie likes to sign players that they deem that they want to keep well before they hit free agency. So they'll hit these guys up either during the offseason prior to their last year or somewhere along the line of their last years in a contract to try to solidify something. So Howie is the best in the game in terms of moving money around to fit what he needs under the cap. And you got to give him kudos for that. So it's like the defense is suffering now, but it will take care of itself in the long run. That's why I can't wait to see what they're going to draft, not just in general terms this year, but in terms of defensive players to try to plug some of the gaps coming up for 2025.
Yeah, because you look at those free agent signings and you say to yourself, okay, I see what he's doing here.
Yeah.
He's trying to, he's almost, I don't want to say draft proofing, but he's kind of building a foundation so he doesn't have to reach in the draft.
Right.
And you bring in Azeez Ojulari, someone who has a proven track record of being able to get to the quarterback, just has to stay healthy. Right. You bring in Josh Uche, a guy who did have a really good season, I think in 2022, but hasn't really been able to replicate that. He was in KC for the second half of the season last year, but Steve Spagnuolo was on record saying, listen, we didn't really expect too much out of him. He couldn't get on the field. It's hard to pick up our scheme mid-season because we have so many different multiple fronts, and it wasn't a good situation for him.
Right.
But he's brought in a lot of he's put a lot of bullets in the gun, so he makes sure he hits his target.
There's no question about it. You know what, Tone? I look at the overall structure of this team and how everything has fallen into place. And everything is just perfect about this team. This team is Camelot right now in terms of players, restructuring money, moving ahead to a new season in 2025 as the defending champions. The target's going to be on their back. Everybody who plays them is going to be their Super Bowl. And let's face it, they have a difficult schedule coming up when you look at some of the teams they have to face in 2025. A lot of times when a team puts its eggs all in a basket for that ultimate goal to win that Super Bowl and it works out for them, what happens the next season? They have to gut the team. Now, the defense basically has been gutted, but again, the offense is intact. And the young players that contributed significantly to this defense are coming back. So this team is in great shape. Unlike a lot of teams that the trapdoor opens on them once they've had a good measure of success. And even if they don't win the Super Bowl, they still bottom out because so many players played themselves into phenomenal contracts elsewhere with the other teams. This Eagles team is still in a very good place right now across the board, even with the defensive deflections. Or defections, I should say. Even with the defensive defections, this team overall is still in a very good place when you stack them up against the rest of the teams in the NFC.
Yeah, you bring up a very good point. When teams really put all their chips in on the table just to win that Super Bowl, it's really hard to bounce back from that,
Yep.
especially when you think about what they
Yep.
leveraged, right?
Yep.
The perfect example for that is the Los Angeles Rams in
Mm-hmm.
2021. They traded so much of their future
That's right.
for that Super Bowl draft
At
picks
one
wise,
moment. Yep.
to the point where the GM came out with T-shirts that said "F them picks." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they really leaned into it. But what they've been able to do, what they've been able to do to bounce back from losing all that equity has been pretty phenomenal for the
Absolutely.
Rams. They granted it, but they came into a 2022 season where they went 5-12, so they really leveraged a lot for that Super Bowl. Very different situation for the Philadelphia Eagles, who are going to have north of 20 draft picks between this upcoming draft and the 2026 draft. So Howie Roseman, to your point, has really positioned his team like Camelot, man. It's a really great situation to be in. Final question for you, D Gun, before I let you go, big dog. Thanks again. And this is going to be a fun one because I think I know this one is going to be near and dear to your heart. Brandon Graham.
Yeah.
This brother, 15 years in the NFL, spent all 15 years with the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, the brother has just been a consummate professional. You can't ask for anything more from a guy like Brandon Graham. Let me make sure I get this right here, because again, Brandon Graham has been he is the longest tenured Eagle that we've ever had. 15 years, 206 games played in the regular season, 76 and a half career sacks in the regular season, 153 quarterback hits, 126 tackles for loss, 487 total tackles, 359 solo tackles, 22 forced fumbles, 7 fumble recoveries, 1 touchdown on defense, 11 pass deflections, 1 Pro Bowl, 1 second team All Pro, and 2-time Super Bowl champion. Walk me through what BG's career has not only meant to the city of Philadelphia, what his legacy means to you. I know you and BG have had a very fascinating relationship over the past decade, and it's been really cool to watch it unfold and develop and blossom to what it is. But just walk me through your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, seeing him go through his retirement speech and just his overall legacy.
When you look at where he started and the pressure he had to succumb to, because everybody wanted them to draft Earl Thomas, and they drafted this guy named Brandon Graham. And of course, the first couple of years he couldn't stay healthy, and people were already calling him bust. And to the point, he was deleting people and blocking people left and right on his Twitter account because he didn't want to hear the noise. And kudos to the organization for not buckling under pressure and staying the course because of what they saw in him. But Brandon kept that Cheshire cat grin on his face and never let you know that anything bothered him. And he heard the outside noise. He knew what people were saying about him, but he never, fizzled under pressure. To see him stand tall at the end of his career, number one, to go out his way by winning a Super Bowl. Number two, by being able to go out with the organization that drafted him, the only team he ever played for. And number three, he has 2 rings. He has his money. He has a family. He wants to be home more to take care of his family, to spend time with his kids. He's in the perfect scenario. He's done it all. He's been there and back again. He's had fun, endless fun along the way, trash talking, nothing demeaning to opponents, but, harmless chatter along the way, unlike, some players who get a little too vicious at times. I don't think you could ask for more of a storybook ending for Brandon. I think the only thing that really, I think the one biggest thing that really got to him was the time flew by fast. 15 seasons flew by fast. We say 15 years is a long time, and it is. But then you wake up one morning and I'm like, I'm 40 something, I'm 50 something. Are you kidding me? So the time has gone by fast. But I can't be more happier for a guy who basically knew he wasn't loved by the fan base of Philadelphia, and then stayed around and to the point makes the most iconic play in Eagles history when he knocked the ball free from Tom Brady's hand in that Super Bowl. He will forever be remembered for that play. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a statue along the line somewhere, and he's not going to have to buy many drinks when he goes places as well. So Brandon Graham has had a phenomenal career, all with the same team. That's all he wanted. I always say I wish there were 1,700 Brandon Grahams in the National Football League,
Mm.
because he's just that guy. He'll walk up to people he barely knows them, and I'm talking about media people, shake their hand, smile at them. How you doing today? But that's Brandon Graham, big jovial kid who just loved playing the sport. And obviously it's come to the end of the road for him, but he's happy. He's happy now. He did everything he wanted. He got his money. He has not one but 2 rings, and he's still a young man at 37 years old. So he has his whole life in front of him in terms of devoting more time to his wife, his kids, and of course, finding out what his next chapter in life is. He could be at one of the networks doing games, or either being on a pregame show with one of the networks as well. So Brandon Graham right now is in the best place he could possibly be in.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. A true professional. I had the pleasure of meeting him once before, and he is as advertised, man. Just makes times for you, smiles in every picture. The guy is just he's one of the many kings of Philadelphia, my man. So
no question.
Really grateful to everything he's meant to the city, his family. Seeing him shed those tears and really just go through his entire arc, his just chronicling his whole career.
Yep.
Reading his speech and everything. It's like, wow, man, it's so easy to forget where he was at one point. But last thing, man, how did I'm trying to recall how you and BG had how your relationship really became what it was, because didn't it stem from some inside joke between you two?
No, we can blame my boy Barrett Brooks for this. So one year, Barrett was one of the co-hosts on a show on NBC Sports Philadelphia called Breakfast on Broad.
Okay.
And they would have Brandon on weekly. And I didn't find this out until like 6 months after the fact, that every time that Brandon Graham was on the show, before he left the studio, Barrett would tell him, hey, D Gunn is picking against you guys this week. So then all of a sudden when the Eagles would win, Brandon Graham would go, wrong again, D Gunn. And I'm like, everybody's like, what is he talking about? I couldn't figure it out. And then finally Barrett revealed that Barrett was the one putting this thought in his head. Well, once it started, Brandon Graham kept it going and people picked up on it. I would be out in public and people would be like, wrong again. Even when I picked the Eagles to win, wrong again, D Gunn. And it just blossomed from there. And of course, when I got him on post-game shows, we would just cut up and have fun. We did the most unorthodox post-game interviews ever. We talked about the game, but we would talk about more stuff, more so than just the game. Prime example. There was a game in the Meadowlands. The Eagles were playing the Giants, and he's talking to me on camera on our post-game show, and all of a sudden he smiles and turns away from me and points to somebody and says, I know you're sad. And I look over my shoulder, and there's a guy wearing a leather, it's expensive, wearing a leather Dallas Cowboys winter jacket. And Brandon was chastising him, like, hey, man, I know you sad, because I think Dallas had a bad season that year. Mm-hmm. But it just kept going and kept going. He would even do it during preseason games. You would see him stand up on the bench and just yell out when he would win a preseason game, wrong again, D-Gun, where D-Gun at? Stuff like that. Initially, we're like, what the heck is he talking about? But now it makes sense in hindsight as to why he was doing it.
Gunner, you're a Philly legend, man. You are a Philly legend. I mean, you've been covering this game. You've been covering sports for well over 20 years, well over 25 years.
Decades, brother. Over 4 decades.
Jeez, man. See, that's the goal. That's the goal for myself. To be able to be in this game and be as honorable as you, my friend. And Eagles fans, if you guys have any sort of concerns, and we'll end on this note. If you got any concerns about this offseason, I'll tell you this. Carson Wentz, he turned into Jalen Carter, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and Cooper DeJean. Mm-hmm. Just saying, Eagles fans. Mm-hmm. On that note, D-Gun, thank you so much for the extra time you're giving me, my man. Much love to you. Much love to your family. Can't wait to have you on again. This is home for you, my friend. Thank you for your mentorship. Thank you for your tutelage, my man. My career, where I'm going, is paved with so much good advice and so much good energy and blessings that you bestow my way, my friend. So I'm grateful for you.
You're more than welcome, and so good to see you. And I know you're going to do phenomenal things, because I know your mindset, I know your determination, I know your heart. And so I'm not surprised that what you're doing is going well, and it's going to kick in and do even better twofolds as long as you continue on this journey. And you're going to have endless success. And so that's what I just wish for you, is endless success, that everything you touch turns to gold. And one thing I would tell you is, like I tell a lot of younger people, don't forget to reach back and help somebody else who helped you.
Yes.
It's like passing a baton in a relay race. If you're a new kid on the block and you don't know what to do, somebody takes you under their wings to show you the ropes and to teach you how to do this or do that is invaluable experience. So that's what I did with my career, with not just you, but a lot of other people. So if you do that as well, you've accomplished a mission in terms of, getting young people on the right track, giving them better insight, a better perspective in terms of what they want to do. Being in front of a camera is not for everybody. A lot of people think they want to be in a camera, and then they do it and realize, I don't want that kind of pressure. But there are a lot of good jobs in the technical side of the aspect where you can do great things as well. So give yourself a chance, stay focused, do not veer to the right or left. Do not let an outside entity tell you what to do or how to use your stadium or who's going to come in and win in your stadium. If you do all of those things, you'll be just fine.
D Gunn, on that note, thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Blessings to you and the family. And I can't wait to have you on next time. Take care.
Hey, you too, man. Anytime I can help you, I'm always here for you, brother.
Yes, sir. All right, you guys. That was a good one. Shout out to my man, D Gunner, man. That's my guy, man. Much love to him. Couldn't be more grateful for his time. Couldn't be more grateful for him making himself available here to Chalk It Up Sports, you guys. So that's our show. That is our show, man. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Let me get to these super chats, though, real quick before we get out of here. My man, Kenneth Johnson, we did these already. Look at my man, T. Will, with $20 super chat. He doubled up on me. Thank you, T. Will. I appreciate the blessings, man. He says, great stream, Tone. And he doubled up saying, Super Bowl champs, baby. Sounds like another love. TKO. Shout out to my man, T. Will, the super chats, man. 2-time Super Bowl champions, man. Why not us, baby? Why not us? We did it once before, man. Why can't we do it again? You feel me? We got to make sure we lace that trophy case with more Lombardis, more Super Bowl rings, more Super Bowl MVPs. You know the vibes. You know the energy. You guys know how we do it here at Chalk It Up Sports. So make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. More content is going to be coming over the weekend. Make sure you guys tune in on Sunday. Me and my man, Coach Marcus from Pro Fan Talk will be locking in with you guys like we always do, 11 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday morning. Once again, 11 a.m. Eastern time, Sunday morning. Me and my man, Coach Marcus Thomas, that is, from Pro Fan Talk, will be giving you guys some pretty dope Eagles talk and some Eagles insight. We always do our weekly show every Sunday to recap the things we've seen, the things we've heard, and I can't wait to get with them on Sunday. Make sure you guys are there. Smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. I've been your humble host, Tone DeShields II. I was joined by the infamous, the legendary, the prestigious Derek Gunn, and you guys have been tuned in to Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to trust to the game.